Bodegas Viña Vilano are situated right in the heart of the Ribera del Duero's denomination of origin area, in the locality of Pedrosa de Duero, in the southern part of the province of Burgos. At an altitude of 850 meters above sea level, the climate is extreme, characterized by very hard winters with temperatures of around 20 degrees below zero and very hot summers with temperatures approaching 45 degrees centigrade. A tough test of strength for the vineyards, particularly during the summer season, when the differences in temperature between the day and the night can reach 30 degrees centigrade, definitely gives shape and form to our grape, Tinta Fina or Tempranillo. The latter, having grown on poor soil comprising sand, clay and grit, the offshoot of an old vine with an average age of about 35 years, gives birth to a unique wine. Many of our vineyards are over 60 years old, having been planted in the traditional embasso system. With 2,000 years of tradition in the cultivation of grapevines and the production of wine, as witnessed by the different Roman mosaics discovered in the region, and relying on the latest know-how in the making and control systems pertaining to wines, Vina Vilano Winery makes the most of small plots of land to produce the typical variety known as Tempranillo. As a result of all this, the winery has been acknowledged in more than 20 countries through different prestigious awards and prizes. Every year, the miracle of the life cycle of the vineyards repeats itself. After the hibernation period in the month of April, and when the ambient temperature reaches 10 degrees centigrade, the sap starts to circulate through the vine again, a phenomenon known as joro or weeping, giving rise to the reactivation of the vine's vegetative cycle. This usually happens towards the end of April. During the month of May, the first trimming or green pruning is performed, and towards the end of June, blooming occurs. It is also during this month that the fruit starts to become visible, and the aclareo or thinning and deshoje or leaf pulling is carried out, eliminating part of the foliage to control the production of the vine and guarantee its quality, keeping it at low yields. During the month of August, the fruit starts tinting or changing in color due to the maturity process under the influence of the sun, known as embero. After a daily monitoring during September, and when the grape reaches its optimum level of sugar, acidity and color, the vintage or harvest of the grapes begins. The grapes, collected manually cluster by cluster, are delivered to the winery under the supervision of the Regulatory Council of the Ribera del Duero denomination of origin. Once the sanitary conditions, alcohol grading and other parameters are checked and recorded, they are registered and taken into the winemaking facilities, and the transformation process from grape must into wine begins. By means of an auger connected to the hopper, the destemmed grapes are transported to different stainless steel containers with a capacity of 40,000 litres, depending on the classification process of the vines and grapes previously carried out. The paste, composed of the must flour and the skins, begins to macerate and ferment at a temperature controlled by a computerized central system. Physical contact between the must and the seeds, plus the skins, will confer upon the wine its future personality in terms of color, acidity, tannins, and other basic parameters. After maceration and fermenting for 2 weeks, the solid components of the grapes are separated from the must by means of the descube or devatting. The musts are allocated depending on whether they are to be used for the elaboration of young, oak, aged or reserve wines. Then, a second fermentation called malolactic fermentation is induced in the red wines, whereby the rough and green is converted into lactic acid, which has a more pleasant and silky flavor. Once the malolactic fermentation is over, in the case of young reds, the wine is ready for filtering, stabilizing and bottling. In the case of other reds, the maturity process or aging in wood continues. From then onwards, the pure and expressive fruit characteristic of young wines starts to give way and complements itself with the complex components of balsamic fragrances, vanillas, tints, and spices provided by the wood stocks of American, Central European and French oak trees with very fine grains